Welcome back, everybody, to Turn Bark Time. I'm the Turn,
I'm the Bark.
and we are still here for a very, very long time. This is season 4, episode Age of Aquarius 2. Okay, lock 'em arms. Yeah, they did crush the Gonzaga Bulldogs tonight, 93-74, in Texas too. Stomped on them. Fun topic to talk about tonight. Barker, how much do you love just a good slice of bread?
I had an observation on Tuesday, and our prompt, as we talked about short answer questions, was explain one way that a hot dog can be classified as a sandwich.
Ooh, great question.
It led to, as I can only describe it, when we started to try to define sandwich, the train turned sideways, capsized, caught on fire, and just continued to slide down the hill. And a student said, does that make a pizza an open-faced sandwich? One period defined it as two things in between another, at which point I took my shoes off, put a piece of tape between them, and said it's a sandwich.
I like it. But that's also the Great American Question. So you know the answer to that question.
What?
Is a hot dog a sandwich? You know the answer to that.
According to the USDA, it is.
No, according to the International Hot Dog Association, it is not.
That's like according to Russia, that Ukraine's not a thing. But
okay, that's a little different, a little dark, but sure. So, okay, let me ask you this, Barker. Is a Hot Pocket ravioli?
Or is a ravioli a Hot Pocket?
Well, what came first, the chicken or the egg?
The Hot Pocket.
No, it did not. Italians everywhere are unliking our show. And by Italians everywhere, I mean maybe the one person who has some Italian ancestry that watches it. Tens of followers are upset right now.
Clicked on this link as one of the suggested videos as they fell asleep and left autoplay on.
Oh, that's good. That means we get more views that way. Anyway, the reason I asked Barker about this great piece of bread is because as I was looking through the interwebs, I came across a war, a full-on war that is entitled the Pastry War. Now, needless to say, I had to click the link because I cannot just pass up on something called the Pastry War. Now, fun fact for you, if you click on the second link for the Pastry War, you will get a fantastic Mexican restaurant in Houston, Texas called the Pastry War, where they were having half-off margaritas.
It's a war of a different nature.
Well, later on in your life, yes, it is. I am actually referencing the Pastry War, which would be classified in 1838.
Also known as the First Franco-Mexican War.
But that's not as much fun to say. The Pastry War, it shall be recalled.
Or the First French Intervention in Mexico.
Nope, Pastry
War.
Which
sounds like something on A&E at 11 at night.
Yes. And we return now to the French intervention in Mexico.
If you really love me. No, anyway, different show for a different day.
Yep.
So, yeah. still not dying.
I'm not dying.
One of the things to know is that Mexico... Let's see. So we're talking 1838. Mexico declares independence from Spain, I think, in like 1821. Mm-hmm. So this is a very young, preteen Mexico.
Moody, some might say.
With our experience teaching young preteens, things are rough. And Mexico was no different. There was a pastry chef who is only known to history as Monsieur, and I don't speak, no parlez-vous français.
No parlez-vous. Romantel?
But I know that it's Monsieur, Remontel. It's probably like Remontel. Anyway, I don't know how you get R-O-Y and it makes Roy, but anyway, go Avalanche. But there was a pastry chef, and in 1832, his shop, there was a problem with Mexican military officers sampling his French pastries and not compensating him. And so, as a young government, there was there was angst. Angst, fair word.
Angst is a fair word. I would say that it's just, so if we're being our history teacher selves, we would say angsty government. A lot of mood swings. So a lot of shifts in power over who's actually in control.
And I would say during this time period, like, Mexico's way more concerned with taking care of like Mexican citizens than European,
foreign nationals,
for lack of a better term, European colonizers. Okay. And so there's kind of this, we don't like y'all anymore. And so this monsieur.
I'll kind of jump in really quick. So one of the reference points, though, that I saw earlier, that's an interesting point, is since remember that they've declared independence from Spain, so foreign nationals would not be allowed necessarily to set up shop in a Spanish colony, or would have to follow said Spanish rules or laws. And so when Mexico throws that off, they kind of open their doors, or it seems more likely that foreign groups and colonizers would enter Mexico with the hope of taking advantage.
Establishing a trade relationship.
See.
Which, I believe it said it. What was it? They had a relationship with Britain, kind of already established.
Yep.
Who's it? In the United States. So essentially, like, France is trying to find their place at the table.
Yep.
So this guy, the French pastry chef,
Romantel,
tries to go to the Mexican government, and they're like, no, we don't care. You know what I mean? Like, we're not interested in giving you. He's asking for, what was it, 60,000 pesos?
So he claims the damage to his shop is worthy of 6,000 pesos, 60,000 pesos in reparations. His shop is valued through 4 sources. His shop is valued at less than 1,000 pesos.
So that's a markup of like 6,000%.
Yeah.
And so, surprise, surprise, the Mexican government says no. And so, as a Frenchman, he writes to the French government, and it's fair to say that he's not the only Frenchman that's complaining.
No.
1837, I think another thing that kind of kicks things over, the reason that it kind of comes to a head is that there's a Frenchman who's executed for piracy.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I mean, you start killing foreign nationals,
and
then countries start to flex their muscles.
Yeah.
And so I think, what was it, 1838, the Prime Minister, Louis Mathieu Mollet, demands that Mexico pay the, I guess, offended citizens of France 600,000 pesos.
Correct. Which is roughly 3 million francs at the time. Which, that was the part that threw me off a little bit too. How is 600,000 pesos worth the same as 3 million francs? Is France that struggling for money at this time?
Maybe it's, let's see. Where are we at? So we're
French
past 1800, so that's past the revolution, eh?
Yeah.
So maybe it's kind of in that, you know, I mean, maybe there's some inflation that occurs. You know, I mean, because that kind of happens, like when there's revolutionary new government, like, how do we make everybody richer? We print more money, which is, I would hope all of our students by the end of the year would know that that's never the answer.
Yep.
But France didn't know that.
Yeah.
And so,
sorry, there's war happening at my house between 2 animals.
Are they good?
Yeah, we might have to cut that clip out.
Today's episode is brought to you by Animal Teenage Angst.
Yeah.
So, long story short, Mexico says, we are disinclined to acquiesce to your request. And France says, oh, really, Swan? And so Rear Admiral Charles Baden.
Now, hold on. This is actually interesting. So my cousin's last name is Bowden.
Bowden.
Yeah. So that's my guess, spelled the exact same way.
Okay. Well, the darn French.
Yep.
So it's Baudin. And apparently
Bowden.
in Français, that is Bowden.
Yep. At least that's how he pronounces his last name.
Or maybe it's an
Bowden?
English butchering of,
Could be.
like, Bourbonus. Anywho, so the French say, okay, if you don't want to pay us, we're gonna essentially, they send this fleet as kind of like the repo depot of the New World.
Get it.
Yeah. It's 4 frigates, 2 corvettes, 8 brigs, 2 bomb catches. Anyway, it's pretty significant firepower.
Yep.
To it's gunboat diplomacy before Teddy Roosevelt shows up and coins the term. And they bombard a fortress at San Juan de Ulua.
Ulua is my guess.
Yeah, outside of Veracruz. And by all accounts, the fortress was kind of it's a new country.
Yeah.
So all of the military might of Spain has kind of been in disrepair for a decade or two. And the soldiers aren't super well trained. And so eventually Corpus or Veracruz
falls.
They declare war. I think, was it
1838?
Yeah, right, December of 1848.
Yep, 1838. Yeah, so Veracruz falls in December 1838. That's after shutting down or carrying out a blockade of Mexican ports from the Gulf of Mexico, from the Yucatan all the way up to the Rio Grande in Texas, was now the Republic of Texas at this point. And this is where I found it interesting. So to avoid the blockade, Mexicans actually start smuggling imports via Corpus Christi, part of the Republic of Texas. And if the Republic of Texas is kind of like, we don't want France mad at us, so they actually start patrolling Corpus Christi Bay to stop, Mexican smugglers and everything like that. And they actually, one of the funny things, I didn't even know this, but there's a outside of Corpus Christi, I believe there's an area called Flower Bluff, and Mexican smugglers actually have to abandon their cargo of 100 barrels of flour, and they just leave it on the beach at the mouth of the bay. And so it's called Flower Bluff. And the United States actually gets involved with this too, which is interesting, that they send down the schooner, the USS Woodbury, to help the French in their blockade. Again, at this time, right, Americans had fought really hard as Texans to to make Texas an independent nation from Mexico. And then the United States has a vested interest in keeping Texas independent and getting it annexed into our country. So
this is kind of in the middle of the 10-year period where Texas is independent.
Yeah. Now it's cool. Sorry. So looking for help and acting without it, General Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna, the hero of the Mexican Revolution, who was president during the Texas War for Independence, actually comes out of retirement, and he is near Veracruz when it's happening. He's in. It says retirement. He's retired in disgrace. Like, he is not. It's not good. Like, he lost Texas and everything like that, and he was captured. So it was bad. He offers his services to the government, and the government says, yeah, you got to fight France at any means necessary. So he gets together a small group of forces, whatever he can rally, and he attacks. And his battle is bad. I mean, it's just bad. Everything goes wrong. They don't win, not even close. And he is wounded in the leg by a French grape shot. And what that is that's a canister of metal balls that is put into a cannon and then fired. So picture the cannon being like a giant shotgun, right? And he's wounded in his leg. And this is the part that I had to laugh at earlier, is his leg is actually amputated and it is buried with full military honors. That leg did a service to its country. So
today that would be seen as like some way of trying to like fraudulently claim like war veteran benefits without having, you know, survivor benefits without having have died. Which made me think about, because Santa Anna eventually gets a prosthetic leg, and fast forward to the Mexican-American War,
1846 to 1848.
Yeah, his army gets surprised, and he doesn't have time to gather his leg before like retreating, and so a military unit, I think from Illinois, captures it, and it's in the military museum of Illinois to this day.
And Mexico has asked for it back multiple times. My wife had a really good line. She goes, and we probably responded with, he's not using it anymore. I kind of want to see that leg now, though. But anyway, so Santa Anna actually uses that to vault himself back from obscurity into the mainstay of politics. But basically what happens is Mexico gets their butt handed to them, right? There's no, and it is Mexico actually agrees to they sue for peace on the recommendation from one of their number one trading partners in Great Britain. Great Britain says, hey, tell them you're going to pay the 600,000 pesos in damages. And so Mexico agrees to this, and they sign this peace treaty where they also say that, you know, they'll receive, they have promise of future trade commitments and everything like that. And the problem is that Mexico never pays the 600,000 pesos. Which
results in the second French intervention. Sorry.
Yeah.
Which is where you get the Battle of
Puebla, which is why we celebrate
Cinco de Mayo.
Yes, it is a victory against the French in a war that Mexico lost. Basically, another reason so that Americans can drink tequila and eat tacos and beer on random day in May. But we would never have known about this. And that Battle of Puebla, we would have never, think about it, Parker, we probably never celebrated Cinco de Mayo if this pastry chef, Romantel, had never written the French government. Wow.
It's very true.
Parker, did we just discover the origins of Cinco de Mayo?
Potentially.
Like the deeper origins of Cinco de Mayo?
Eat less carbs.
That's the lesson you learn from Cinco de Mayo.
The moral of the story. and in the long run, Mexico never pays.
Yeah, ever.
They don't formalize. They have no relations until like 1880, and by that point, the debt gets wiped.
Yeah, both sides just basically say, no, we're not, because both reset their governments basically. Yeah. And so when their governments reset, one of the things they do to start their trade relationship is that they say, like, neither of us claims to be the government that started this war or was a part of this war. And so therefore we don't hold anything accountable.
It's like a double bankruptcy.
Yeah, I guess it is. So, but what a fun topic.
The more you know.
Yeah. So, God, I got nothing else. That was fun. I like that one.
Yeah, almost as good as like when a pig crosses a small island.
Maybe we should do that one. We should do that one next week.
The pig war.
Yes, the pig war. I love it.
It wasn't a big war, but it was a pig war.
All right. I think we found our topic for next week.
Unless you guys have something better.
Yeah, I mean, throw it out to us. We'll take it. Whatever you want. We're having fun with this. This is awesome. I've been looking forward to this one all week. So I think it's hilarious that this whole war over a guy who thought his shop was worth 60,000 pesos when it's really only valued at about 1,000.
Only off by 59,000. I mean, that's pretty
Yeah.
close.
Yeah. And math is hard. That's why we teach history.
Yeah, I keep my shoes on.
Yeah. For those of you who don't get that joke, take your shoes off.
Yeah, count to 20.
Yeah, take that. So, all right, folks. Well, if there's nothing more, we look forward to seeing you next week. Bark, anything else?
No, I think I am sated.
All right, fantastic. Well, have a good night, everybody. Or until next time. Oh, I screwed it up. But until next time, I'm the Turn.
I'm the Bark.
And we're going to be here a long time. Have a good night, everybody.
Be safe.
And be well.